Hello and welcome to the Health Source podcast, your source for all things health, wellness and lifestyle inspo. I'm your host, Beck Russell, health and life coach and the author of Life in the Soul Lane. Through conscious conversations, our aim is to inspire and empower you to live your most well, happy and vibrant life. If you're ready to elevate your well-being, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the Health Source podcast. I'm so excited to share today's episode. I am in conversation with the beautiful Mel Kovacevic. Mel is the founder of the Seed Cycle, and Mel is also a functional nutritionist and EFT practitioner. With her expertise in functional nutrition, intuitive eating practices, and EFT tapping, Mel has helped hundreds of women to restore their hormonal balance using food as medicine, which is a subject that she is deeply passionate about, which you will be able to hear as we move through this conversation. Mel's dedication to empowering women to reach their full potential is really reflected in the Seed Cycle, which provides a done-for-you seed cycling solution. And with the encouragement of her family, the Seed Cycle has really begun to flourish. Through this episode, you will learn about seed cycling, what it is, what kind of seeds we use in each phase of the cycle. We talk a lot about hormonal balance and eliminating toxins and just women's health in general. It was such a wonderful conversation. Mel is such a ray of sunshine, and I really, really enjoyed chatting to her about all things hormonal health and women's health. And towards the end of the interview, we start to dive into her beautiful products a little bit more. So stay tuned for that. You might like to check out these wonderful products. And if you do, I have a special discount code for you. You can use the code BECK15 at the checkout when you're placing your order to receive 15% off your first order, which is such a beautiful bonus and a nice way for you to try out these wonderful products and see the results for yourself. So without further ado, let's dive in. I'll hand it over to Mel and we're going to talk all things hormonal health and seed cycling. Mel, welcome to the Health Source podcast.
Thank you so much for having me back.
Before we dive into all things seed cycling today, Mel, I wanted to ask you, what are your top 3 things or habits, routines, rituals, practices that you do either daily or weekly to keep yourself really happy and healthy?
I was thinking about this recently, and the number one thing that helps me undoubtedly is sunshine. Like if I can just get 5 minutes of sun on my skin, preferably like if I can expose my tummy and my legs, like it just feels like it recharges my batteries. So definitely sunshine, being outside, grounding is incredible. If I can get my feet on some grass or sand, but even just being outside, I just find nature is what calms my nervous system. And I guess I have to say seed cycling.
Of course.
but it is truly a ritual and something I love to do myself. A few people have asked me, like, do you seed cycle? And I'm like, isn't that a given? I need to make that clear. But yes, it helps me so much.
Those are in my top 3 too. So we are healthy habit twins by the sounds of it. Oh. So we are here today to talk about seed cycling. You are the founder of the Seed Cycle, which is an amazing Australian company that is helping women to harmonise their hormones. So could you just give us a bit of an overview of what seed cycling is and how it can help us with our hormonal health?
Yeah, so seed cycling is an ancient practice using food as medicine. It is trending at the moment, but I really like to talk about the roots and the roots of Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic practices, and really food as medicine technique. It can also be called a functional food or a nutraceutical. I've heard it described as biohacking your menstrual cycle, which is cool as well. But really the concept is that we're having specific seeds at specific times in our cycle, and the nutrients in the seeds are help balancing out estrogen and progesterone. So when these two key female sex hormones are out of balance, that's when we can really experience those PMS symptoms, the irregular cycles, missing periods, hormonal migraines, weight gain around the tummy, all the way through to like perimenopause symptoms as well.
And it's such a beautiful way for us, like you said, just to use food as medicine. Like we're potentially eating these foods anyway, so why not use them in a way that's going to help us to just calm those hormones and allow them to flow as they should be. So can you just share with us what are the seeds that we use in the seed cycling technique?
Yeah, so there's 4 key seeds, and I usually tell people you probably already have them in your pantry, and we break them into 2 phases. So phase 1 is flax seeds and pumpkin seeds, and phase 2 is sesame seeds and sunflower seeds. And the difference is that we're having these seeds at therapeutic doses, and we're grinding up the seeds as well so the body can absorb the nutrients, and we're having them at specific times in our cycle. So as women, we have different nutrient requirements in different phases of our cycle, and we're cyclical. We operate on a 28-day average infradian rhythm. We're not the same every day in terms of our hormonal in terms of our hormones. Men's hormones operate on a circadian rhythm, and so this is where seed cycling is so clever. It's taking this into account. And so sometimes people will say to me, oh, can I just have all 4 seeds, or I'm already having these seeds, throughout my diet. And yeah, that's amazing, and you can have all 4 seeds, but the practice of seed cycling for hormone modulation and connecting with our cyclical rhythm through the seeds is just so powerful. And this is where we are bringing in some of that ancient wisdom.
Beautiful. And correct me if I'm wrong, but phase 1 we have pepitas or pumpkin seeds and linseeds,
Yes.
which is from day 1 to roughly day 14 or ovulation.
Yeah.
And then phase 2 we have sunflower seeds and sesame seeds for the
Yes,
second half.
yeah. And so flaxseed and linseed are interchangeable, and like same with pumpkin seeds and pepitas. So different names, but either they can be used for seed cycling.
And is seed cycling suitable for all women, or who can really benefit from this practice?
Yeah, this is a really great thing about it, is there are not a lot of contraindicators. So unless you have an allergy to those 4 seeds, or even if you have just an allergy to, say, sunflower seeds or sesame seeds might be a little bit more common, you can still seed cycle. You would just obviously not have those. Say if it's sesame seeds, you could double up on the sunflower seeds in that second phase and still continue to seed cycle. And then also, I know for like herbs and supplements that support hormones, they can't be taken while you're pregnant, or if you're on the pill, where seed cycling can be really supportive if you are on the pill, really supportive pregnant while you're pregnant as well, and postpartum. So I think that's one thing that I didn't realize in the beginning, but was different to some of the other natural options available, is just how much it can help in different phases. I love talking to teens about their cycles and introducing them to seed cycling as well, because like what a beautiful introduction to menstruating and understanding their cycle, adding in this diet culture world where it's all restriction. Hey, you can add something in that's going to support your cycle, and that food as medicine. So yeah, we see it help teens through to irregular cycles, PMS. It can be used as a protocol to help get off the pill, so to prepare your body, build up nutrients, help your body remember that cyclical rhythm all the way through perimenopause, and then postmenopausal as well. We don't have estrogen and progesterone at high levels like when we're menstruating, but there are still xenoestrogens, so environmental estrogens that can build up in our system. So the nutrients and the fibers are helping eliminate that. Plus, and we can talk about this, like all the other nutrients that are from nature. Our bodies recognize them, that are in the seeds.
It sounds like it's such a beautiful, very accessible, very safe, very affordable way for women to be able to incorporate this into their life, no matter what stage or phase that they're in. You did just touch on some of the nutrients. Are there a few key nutrients within these 4 seeds that you find to be really supportive for women?
Yeah, particularly flax seeds are very well researched in terms of hormone modulation, and this is because they contain lignans, which are a form of phytoestrogens, and so these work really intelligently on a cellular level. So we have estrogen receptor cells all over our bodies, and when we're having that lignan or that flaxseed, it acts like a plug, and it plugs into that receptor and tells that receptor what to do. So for me, it might be no, block that production. You've got enough estrogen. For others, it might be like, no, make more. So definitely the lignans in the pumpkin seeds, they're a really good source of iron, zinc, magnesium, the omega-3 fatty acids as well. And then when we move into the second phase, looking at sunflower seeds and sesame seeds, sunflower seeds are a really great source of vitamin E. And this is where I think we notice those beautiful changes in our skin. Within that first month, women say, my skin feels brighter, it's glowing, I'm having less breakouts. We've seen incredible success stories with seed cycling for hormonal acne, particularly around your chin area, and selenium as well in those phase 2 seeds. And people say to me, like, I've got a cupboard full of supplements, they're gathering dust, or I'm not consistent, or like I do take them, but I've seen such huge changes and benefits with seed cycling. And I do really believe that it comes back to our bodies recognize the nutrients in the seeds. And I'm not anti-supplements, and yes, like, it is a holistic approach, and there's not just one solution. So for you, it might be some herbs from your naturopath, it might be some supplementation. Obviously, all those beautiful lifestyle nervous system things we do, we add seed cycling on top of that, and it's like that missing puzzle piece.
It never ceases to amaze me how clever our bodies are in responding to our environment and our food and all of the other things that we are exposed to every day. And it's such a gift that we are able to move alongside nature in a way like this, using food as medicine to be able to give our body everything that it needs.
Yeah, and it's just like we have to, especially in this modern world, like continually remind ourselves of that, because I feel like as humans we think we're smarter than nature, like especially in the health food industry, like let's like extract this oil and recreate this, and like, oh, we can do better than than nature. Like we can't, and our bodies just respond so well to nutrients that it recognizes. So I'm a purist when it comes to food. I believe like we shouldn't mess with it, like real food from nature, and you'll see that throughout all my products. Like I'm not just about like, okay, well, that ingredient natural. It's like, well, what was done to that ingredient before it goes into my product? Because it might sound natural, but then you look into it and it's gone through a whole huge refinement process. I'm not interested in that. Like even the new mixes that we've got for the protein, like I use hemp and inchi protein sources, and all that's done is we grind up the seeds from the hemp and inchi plant. Like I just think that sometimes we overcomplicate things, and then our bodies don't respond to it.
That's one of the many things that I love about the seed cycle. It really is just leaving things as they are, rather than, like you see it all the time in certain in quotation marks health products, where they extract ingredients or things from here, there, and everywhere, and refine them and try and put them together in a way that, like you said, perhaps the body isn't familiar with and isn't able to process. So that's one of the many things I love about the seed cycle, that it really is just simple yet powerful and effective way for us to balance our hormones. A little bit earlier in our conversation, you touched on the 2 main female sex hormones, estrogen and progesterone. Would you be able to just give us a very brief overview of the key functions of these hormones in the body?
Yes, so I like to describe estrogen as the Taylor Swift of the hormone world, or like, I don't know if you're a millennial, like J-Lo or Beyonce. Like, it gives us like spark and confidence and energy, and you really feel this in your follicular phase. So in that first half of your cycle, when estrogen's starting to rise, and this is where I know for me, I feel at my best when estrogen is high. I feel like I just get shit done. I'm fast. I'm and I think that it is I guess, like, I think the reason why we love this phase is because we can keep up with this modern world in this phase. But there are so many other benefits to the other phases. And so estrogen's a really important hormone in terms of that energy, that confidence, that it also is really important for obviously like ovulation, but also brain health, bone and muscle mass, and longevity as well. And so, that's where I start to get concerned when I look at, like, when you're taking the pill for a long period of time and we're shutting down that estrogen and progesterone production, shutting down ovulation. And, I think I grew up thinking that ovulation was just important for fertility. And the message is, there was no education around this. But the other thing with estrogen is that when it is out of balance, and it's out of balance for a long period of time, it can cause really serious health consequences. And again, this isn't something that we've been taught. It's like, if we're experiencing those PMS symptoms, the migraines, the painful periods, the irregular periods, this could mean that your body is producing too much estrogen or not enough. And then over a long period of time, this can lead to thyroid conditions, autoimmune, cancer, menopause conditions, really struggle through menopause. So, I know that for a lot of us, it was kind of like this message of like, periods are a curse, you're going to get PMS, you're going to feel like crap, it's just part of it, but it's not. And your body's trying to give you those signs. And then progesterone, this is like our calming hormone. So like, it could be described as like the Michelle Obama of hormones. So really grounding, calming, or like a warm, cozy fireplace. And when we're not producing enough progesterone, this can lead to that like extreme like irritability and mood change before you get your period, hormonal migraines and other symptoms as well. And often if the estrogen's out in the first half, then that has that flow-on effect and affects the progesterone production. So, it is really supporting yourself and your hormones throughout the whole cycle. And this is what seed cycling does so well. Yeah, and I guess like understanding what those hormones do for me and what it feels like to have them out of balance and then in balance. It's just been game changing. Like, I struggled with hormonal migraines and that real irritability before my period. Like, I used to say to my husband, like, I just need to be like locked in a padded room for a couple of days so I can't like hurt anyone or myself, because I was so irritable and I couldn't do anything. I knew it, but I couldn't do anything to change it. And that was my body wasn't producing enough progesterone. And now I have that change in each phase. So yes, like I've got my menstrual phase where I feel a bit daydreamy and I like to I turn inwards a bit more. I feel very creative during that phase. And then the follicular phase, like I spoke about, like after your period, where you're just like, get shit done, go, go, go. Like I can do everything. And then ovulation, where I feel very loving and giving, and I don't care about the get shit done anymore. I just want to like cook for my family and hug my kids and see my friends, to that luteal premenstrual phase where my energy is lower and I need to take more for myself. I need to practice those rituals. I need to get outside. And if I take care and know what I need in each phase and know what my hormones are doing, it's just so much easier. And I'm more productive in business than I've ever been,
That really invites us, I guess, to start to cultivate quite a deep sense of self-awareness as well when we start to, because I feel like it's probably becoming a bit more common now, but as we were growing up, I feel like it wasn't as celebrated, I suppose, or we weren't ever taught what the phases of the cycle were and how to connect to our menstrual cycle at all, let alone the different phases of our cycle. So I think it's such a beautiful opportunity for us to start to really connect with ourselves, with our body, with our menstrual cycle, and learn what that is uniquely for us as well, so that we can make the most of all of those phases and honor what our body needs, throughout the month.
Yeah, and that's so important, like understanding what you need and what you're like in each phase. Like I've only recently realized that when I'm in my follicular phase, this is where my perfectionism is like shining through. Like I want everything done now. I want it done perfectly, and if it's not, I'm going to burn the house down. And I never saw myself as a perfectionist, because in my other phases I don't feel that. But understanding that this is part of me in my follicular phase, and now having that awareness and being able to manage it. So when I do feel that come up, I'm like, it's okay. It's just part of this phase. Like, let's ride this wave and do what I need to do to dial that in. Yeah, like just the more I am aware and the more I learn, the more, just I have this insight that I've never had before, and more awareness.
Mel, just a little bit earlier in our conversation, we touched on some of the symptoms that you've seen women experience throughout their phases, different phases, and during menstruation, things like bloating, fatigue, headaches, painful periods. There's probably a few others that you have experienced as well. Have you seen a lot of people have relief of these symptoms once their hormones start to balance out after seed cycling for a few months?
Yes, and it is a few months. Seed cycling is something that you have to do consistently, and it's not a quick fix. But definitely within the first month, we'll notice those skin changes. So we'll notice less breakouts, and we notice digestion improve as well. And I guess that's the nutrients, but also the fibers. So people will say, like, I'm going to the bathroom more regularly, I'm not feeling as bloated. But it really does take those at least 3 cycles to see those hormone modulation and those symptoms reduce. So after 3 months, I've seen everything from I had someone messaged me the other day, her period returned after 5 years, and she was so worried that it wasn't going to come back. She has endo and PCOS, so she said it must work. Seed cycling must work, and she was just over the moon. So we see periods return, which is incredible. Women will say things like, I got my period and I didn't even know it was coming. Like I wasn't feeling that extreme mood shift or some of those other symptoms. For me, it's helped so much with my mood. I definitely I feel that dip, and I need to take it slower and better care of myself. But that's very different to that hormone imbalance mood shift, where it was I feel like I'm gonna explode because I was so irritable. And my the migraines took a long time. I think it was 4 to 6 months of seed cycling, and now I still notice if I haven't taken great care of myself during that month, or even usually my migraine will happen on day 2. If I have a really busy day that day, by the end of the day that migraine will come. But if I really take care of myself on day 2, give myself space, not it's the rushing around triggers it. So not rushing around too much, then I won't get the migraine, which is incredible because I've had them pretty much my whole menstruating life. And then we see changes or improvements in hormonal acne over time as well. We've had incredible success stories with conception. One of my first clients that I got seed cycling came in a couple months after, and she's like, I'm pregnant. I think it was the seeds. And at that point, I didn't really know much about how it was helping conception. But now I know that when you are supporting a regular cycle, supporting healthy estrogen and progesterone levels, healthy ovulation, healthy cervical mucus, then that's increasing the chances of conception. And since starting the seed cycle, I've had women send through ultrasound photos, positive pregnancy tests, countless emails saying, I just wanted to tell you first. Only you and my husband know at the moment. It's just wild that these beautiful seeds can support fertility. And what I will say about seed cycling for fertility is I would never want someone to say, I'm going to start seed cycling and put off going to see a specialist if they're concerned, or a doctor. You do seed cycling alongside, and that's all conditions, alongside working with your doctor, with a specialist, with a practitioner. And this is why we connect with so many practitioners, because I want to be able to refer. Like I said in the beginning, there's no one magic bullet, unfortunately. It's usually a combination of all the things that then really lead to that, those healthy hormones.
That's so beautiful, and it must feel so heartwarming for you to know that so many of your clients and your customers have had such beautiful experiences with conception and just the quality of life that has improved for them because the hormones have balanced out and their period is just arriving in a way that it's really supposed to if our hormones are in balance.
Yeah, it's overwhelming, definitely. I get teary a lot about it because it's incredible. And, I realize that, yes, it's the nutrients and the seed cycling, but it's this, I guess, broader education that we're doing of educating women on their cycles and things that we haven't been really taught, and turning to food as medicine, and adding in as well, in this world where everything's about restriction, particularly in the nutrition space. You can't have dairy, can't have gluten, can't have refined sugar. And then that leads to scarcity. So, I'm just seeing so many benefits outside of just the function of the seeds, which I love. And then just this conversation about hey, these signs and symptoms are your body trying to tell you something. I didn't, I studied nutrition. I thought I'd done all this work, and I did. I'm an EFT practitioner, so I was working on limiting beliefs, and I had a lot of issues with food in my body, and I had done all this, but I had completely not understood or worked on my hormones. And then it's that missing puzzle piece for me, even with my health, but also that acceptance and self-love, because it's I want to be confident, I want to accept myself, I want to love myself, but I hate having a period. Whereas if you can understand and use and work with your menstrual cycle, and now I use it as my superpower as a mom, in business, managing my nervous system, with my nutrition, it really is, that missing puzzle piece.
Yeah, I really think, and I think all of these topics are starting to gain momentum now, but I really think it has been a case of a lot of women just really haven't realized or been taught or understood how important hormonal health is, and the impact that it has on our entire body, our entire being. So why do you think, Mel, in your opinion, we're seeing so many hormonal imbalances in women, particularly in this modern era?
Yeah, well, the stats are 90% of women globally struggle with a hormone imbalance, and 5% in men. So it is a huge issue. I think it's a combination of our environment. No, just even myself, when I decided to live and change and live a low-tox life, things improved drastically. And now we know that there are endocrine disrupting chemicals that mimic estrogen. And our practitioners tell us more often than not, when they're looking at bloods for women, estrogen's through the roof, and then they're not making enough progesterone. And so, I think it is the EDCs. So they are found, unfortunately, in a lot of our fragrance, cosmetic, cleaning products, plastics, in our water.
Just everywhere.
Everywhere.
As you were listing that off, I was thinking it's quite the minefield out there, isn't it? Unless you start to educate yourself, like yourself and myself, we would have gone through that educational sort of period where you start to realize that every corner that you turn, I'm not sure how we ended up here. I guess maybe there's an element of convenience with the products and things that we've got ourselves surrounded by, but everywhere you turn, unless you're consciously choosing to take a different path, that it really is just, we're just bombarded with chemicals everywhere.
Yeah, I read that we're living through the most toxic time in the world's history, and it can be overwhelming, especially if you're introduced to it for the first time, or you might think, oh yeah, like this is all a bit woo, or like, but there, the science is showing now that and finding those endocrine disrupting chemicals are really messing with our hormones and men as well. I'm starting to read some information on men and EDCs, but it really it's simpler than you think in terms of what you can do to reduce it. So, I started with just not eating food in plastic. And then I did, as I used up a product, say it was like a moisturizer that I bought from Woolies, I didn't really love it anyway. When I went to replace it, I just replaced it with a cleaner option, and just the same as like quality water, quality air, quality food, quality products. And to the point now where I don't want to support companies that are putting those things in products. Like, I just don't. I would rather go to my local health food store and buy a beautiful moisturizer that's made usually probably from a local business that just has natural ingredients in it. My skin is cleared up hugely when I made that shift as well, and my health improved. And I just sort of worked my way through my home. And I found like I'm saving a lot of money as well, because, where I used to shop in Mecca and Sephora and spend the bomb, now I'm just not willing to buy products with fragrance and that sort of thing and those EDCs in them. So I go to the health food store. I'm supporting businesses and makeup and that are organic and clean. So I think it's a beautiful thing you can do for yourself and your hormones. And it might sound like really small decisions, but it adds up. Definitely when it comes to food, so like herbicides and pesticides, unfortunately have EDCs as well. So for me, it is quality food. I shop at our farmers market where I can, and then just washing fruit and veggies really well, like that. That again, like it's just supporting that that toxic load and eliminating where I can. What have been the things that have worked well for you or been easy that just make a huge difference?
I think I'm quite similar to you. I was thinking the way that you were describing that is really good advice for our listeners, particularly if they're just at the start of that journey. But I'm the same. Yeah, definitely eliminating any products. I think a good place to start for people is if you just turn the packet over of whatever the thing is that you're looking at, and if there's an extensive list of things that look toxic, then that's a pretty good indicator of something to steer clear of. But yeah, definitely the same, of trying to buy organic where we can and washing the produce, clean beauty products and cleaning products. But to be honest, I just make a lot of my own stuff too, which is such a good option for people. But I know some people might not have the time or the inclination to want to do that, but that is an option for people if they so choose to. But otherwise, just like you said, just go down to your local market or have a look at some online stores that are really fostering this sense of holistic wellness, rather than the ones that are knowingly and sort of willingly putting in these chemicals and endocrine disruptors. It's just not worth it. And like you said, it is a toxic load that does accumulate, and it does all add up, and it does all matter. So it's really important for you. You might just think, oh, it's just this one processed food and it's just this one cleaning product and it's just one, whatever the thing is. But if it's just those handful of things and it's every single day and every single week, and then before you know it, a few years have gone by and it's all just accumulating in our body. And so just take it slow, I would say, to start to investigate. Reach out to me if you want to, and I can guide you on your journey. But just start small, and like you said, just start to slowly change over all your products in your home, and I think that's a really good place to start.
I had an experience last summer where I think because I'd been living low tox for like 10 years, I just got really lax. And so my husband bought like washing detergent with fragrance in it. I just started on TikTok at that time. So I was like looking at like all these like TikTok people doing their makeup. So I went and bought some of the makeup, and I think the thing that ticked it off is this sunscreen that you can spray over your makeup. And I was like, oh, that's cool. my was the worst it has been in years, and it took like maybe 2 months to realize. But like the migraines, I was nauseous constantly. My mood, like I just felt like absolute crap, and I was like, what the hell is going on? Like and I was seed cycling, but maybe not as consistently. But I was still like, I'm seed cycling, like why? Like this shouldn't be happening to me. And then I realized it was these products, and it was just too much. And then I'd been like, I didn't even do the use it up. I just freaking binned it because I was like so mad at myself that I had done this. And then within one cycle, I was back, and I was like, wow, what a reminder of that toxic load. And it did. I felt toxic in my body. I felt heavy. I was bloated. Like even like I felt like I was like putting on weight. Like it was. Yeah, it was crazy.
That is
it was
great.
just some decisions that I had made. Still, like, yeah, it was just a few things that had just snuck in and added up, and didn't really think too much about it.
That is crazy. And yeah, such a good example. Not good for you that you had to go through that, but just a good reminder for us that, hey, like even if it's just these couple of things, it really does have an impact on our body and on our health. Alongside the seed cycling and trying to move to more of a low-tox life, do you have any other tips or advice for women to support, or practices for women to support their hormonal health?
Yeah, our nervous system. Like there's a saying, when cortisol goes high, progesterone goes low. And so, that is whatever works for you. For me, EFT, I can really quickly do some tapping, so emotional freedom techniques, which is just using acupressure points on your face and your body. And this sends a calming signal to your amygdala, that stress center. And I can quickly bring cortisol down myself using EFT. For others, it might be the grounding practices that we spoke about, breath work, yoga, gratitude can bring cortisol down as well. Using what works for you. I'm really focusing on not rushing at the moment, because it's just like, I feel sorry for my kids. Like all they hear from me is like, let's go, get in the car, go, come on, eat. Like, and I realize like there's a lot of times where I'm rushing where I don't need to be rushing. Like we get to school on time. Like it's okay.
I'm very much like that too. So thank you for that reminder. I feel like a lot of us are caught in that, in the modern world, isn't it? We feel like we're constantly trying to keep up with something where life just doesn't have to be like that. It can be relaxed.
Yeah. And like I've just realized I'm rushing and then I'm early. So I'm like, why? Because I value, and I want my kids to learn that. Like we value other people's time, we value our own time. I don't want to be, obviously late, and that's more stressful than anything on me. But there are so many times I've realized I'm rushing where I don't need to be. So I'm just trying to pull myself up on that. And I think that's going to be long term, like hugely supportive for my nervous system. And ultra processed foods, like you were saying, same as with your skincare and other products, like looking at the ingredients in the food that you're buying. And unfortunately now it is confusing, because there's like healthy food, healthy packaged foods that when you look at the back, they are full of emulsifiers and vegetable oils and colors and flavors and things, again, highly processed, and that causes inflammation, and our bodies just struggle with that. So I think that's one as well. I think that your audience would be on top of that one.
Let's just beware of that clever marketing.
I think so. Yeah. And again, like I just don't want to support those companies. Like, and this is where, I teach my kids this now as well. And there's a couple of apps that you can use that like scan the barcode, and it will tell you how processed it is and what it has in it. And so, when the kids are like, well, my friends are having LCM bars, or I want roll-ups or whatever. And I'm like, well, let's just scan it and see. And then we'll scan it and be like, look at all these ingredients. Like, this is just going to make you hungrier and want more of it. And it's not actually fair that company is putting all that in our food. And they'll be like, yeah, that's true. So like, I think that, when you get that like, and I saw this with my clients, I can kind of like light a fire, of like, yeah, well, that's not good enough. And then it's just easier to then make those decisions. And then there are times where you're out or you just have it, but controlling your personal food environment at home just makes a huge difference.
To finish up, I would love for you to share a little bit more about your beautiful products at the Seed Cycle. You've got a couple of main hero products. I'd love to hear a little bit more about those.
Oh, thank you. So yes, we have our Seed Cycle 1 month pack, and this is where I started. And it was really, I was packaging the seeds for my clients. I found that I would teach my clients, go buy these seeds, make sure they're organic. We're going to grind them up. And some clients were like, oh, it's all too hard, but I just knew like this is going to be your missing puzzle piece. And I was like, well, I'm making my own seed cycling like blends. Do you want me to make some for you too? So that's really where it started. And all I do is grind up the seeds for you. I make it really easy to get started. So we've got like a phase 1 and a phase 2, and then the therapeutic doses as well. So then it's just a matter of popping it. You can pop it in your breakfast, in a smoothie, in porridge, in salad, on top of your dinner. So it's really versatile on how you incorporate the seeds. And then from there, I created the bake mixes. So it's the same in terms of it's got the seeds in it at the therapeutic doses. And so for phase 1, you can bake up a brownie or you can make raw bliss balls out of them. And then phase 2, there's biscuits, or you can again make like these phase 2 biscuits. And those came about because my sister-in-law had just gotten off the pill and her skin was so angry and broken out and her period hadn't returned. And I was like, you need to start seed cycling. And I was teaching her how to do it. And she's like, oh, I don't like smoothies and I don't really think I'm going to add it to my salad. So she was being really fussy. And I was like, well, what if I hide it in a brownie like I do with my kids' food? Like, will you eat it then? She's like, yeah. So I started making these like biscuits and brownies for her. And within a couple of months, her skin cleared up, her period returned. And that was really early days too. And it was when we started the company, and I remember saying to my husband, those biscuits and brownies that I made for your sister, we can turn them into a product. And then the new ones are the protein. And that's just because like the number one question I would get asked is like, what protein powder would you recommend? And I'm like, none of them. They're usually made for men. They've always got some sort of, natural flavor, which really isn't natural, or, gum or emulsifier or something that, I felt like I was always compromising. I'm like, oh, use this one. It's not like perfect, but, it's kind of the best that I can find. And then it got to the point where I would teach people like, go buy inki and shea and hemp seeds and grind them up, and then that's going to give you a full amino acid profile. Be really great source of protein. So that's where I've like now combined it. So it's got the seeds in it. So I've got phase 1, which is the chocolate flow. So I've got the seeds, I've got the protein. I use camu, which is a great source of vitamin C as well, and raw cacao in there. And then phase 2 is called cinnamon spice radiant. So I use cinnamon, nutmeg, and cardamom to sweeten it. And those spices are really great for blood sugar control, particularly in that second half.
It's so beautiful. There's been so much love and thought and intention that have gone into your products, and I just would really highly encourage anyone out there who wants to balance their hormones in a healthy, natural way with a founder that actually cares about you and what you're consuming to go and follow the Seed Cycle and purchase those products, because your body and your hormones will thank you for it.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your support, and it's been so nice chatting with you.
Mel, just before we close out, is there anything else that you want to leave the listeners with that we haven't already covered? I know we've covered a lot of topics in our conversation today, but if there's anything else you wanted to leave our listeners with?
I guess just reach out to me if you have any questions about how to get started. I know, it can feel like, oh, well, I don't know what phase or how, or, well, there's a lot of questions around like, well, my cycle's irregular, so how do I seed cycle? We have a heap of resources on the website, but also just send me a DM on Instagram, on Facebook, send me an email. You can find all the contact details on the website. I love chatting with people, and I'm here to support you any way I can.
We'll link to all of your contact details in the show notes as well. Mel, thank you so much for talking all things hormonal health and seed cycling with me. I've absolutely loved this conversation.
Thank you for having me.
I absolutely loved this conversation with Mel, chatting all things women's health, hormonal health, and seed cycling. So I hope you loved it as much as I did. come over and connect with Mel and myself over on Instagram and let us know what you got out of this episode. My handle is at @BeckRussell_, and you can connect with the Seed Cycle at _seed_cycle. Remember, if you want to check out some of the Seed Cycle's incredible products, you can use my special discount code BECK15 at the checkout to save yourself 15% off your first order. That's it for another episode of the Health Source podcast. I'll be back in your ears again next week. And until next time, take really good care of yourself, and I'll chat to you again soon.